Welcome everyone to the 3-day international virtual workshop on research methodology, research writing, and manuscript writing, jointly organized by Lavender Literary Club India, Cap Common Trust India, and Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, Malaysia. Today is the final day. Today we have two speakers. Our first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Narasimha Murthy, Presidency University, Bangalore, India, and our second speaker, Dr. Milana Abbasova, Acting Head of the Department of English Language and Literature, Kazar University, Azerbaijan. For the first session, first speaker, Dr. Narasimha Murthy, SB, his educational qualification, B.Ed, MA, MPhil, and PhD. His professional experience as a selection grade lecturer from 1987, then lecturer, professor, principal, professor of English, resource person, now assistant professor of English. His administration as a head Department of English, HK Veera Gaur, first grade college, Madhur, Madhya coordinator and coordinator principal, BA PUC, Bengali, Bangalore. His academic responsibility as a research supervisor and course in charge for technical spoken communication in Presidency University. His academic achievements as BOS member in Jain University, Bangalore, BOS member JSS College of Arts and Science and Commerce, Mysore. He awarded by Lavender Literary Club as a distinguished resource person. He published many papers in international journals and he worked as a resource person for various conferences and workshops. We are very happy to have you, sir. Now we hand over in the session to you, sir. The session is yours.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, everybody. And unfortunately, I'm traveling, and if there are any slight noise, I request everybody to cooperate with me. And thank you, my friend Joyson, for giving me this opportunity to share a few things with you all. Now, this is most unexpected thing for me, and I cannot curtail my travel because of some personal reasons. And I'll stop my video, but my audio will continue. And my topic for the day is uh, research ethics. Research ethics. Okay, now I'll begin with a question. What do we mean by research ethics? Can anybody answer this? What do we mean by ethics in research? Okay, if I say ethics, what is the first thing that you get in? What is the first idea that gets into your thought process? What do you think the moment I say ethics? No, I'll use one more word for ethics. It is moral. The moment I say ethics or moral, what is that first thought that comes to our mind?
We are not so
The
copy
principle,
the content from others.
No, you forget
moral
that time you live
principles, plagiarism,
moral principles, plagiarism. Oh,
and
you're all
to
talking in terms of as a literary person, as a common man, as an ordinary person, layman. What is that? The moment I say moral,
Anything which is right
ethics.
or wrong.
You're exactly right, ma'am. You're exactly right. To put it in a better way, right or wrong, good or bad, a kind of a code of professional conduct. The moment I think of ethics, I think of some rules, or code of conduct. The most common way of defining ethics is, norms for conduct. Norms for conduct. So, very simple thing. There is a line that separates something acceptable and unacceptable behavior. That is called ethics according to many people. I do not want to go deep into that ethics in detail. Let me discuss about the common places where we try to use our ethical norms. Usually, it can be at home, at school, in church, in temple, or in any other social settings. And remember, most of our ethical practices, it began at home. Like the saying goes, charity begins at home. And there are different stages that we pass through. And the ethics that we adhere, that we had adhered in our childhood may not remain the same throughout. But, you know, let us come to the point, ethics in research. Ethics in research. So when, as some of you have already said, plagiarism, honesty, accountability, there are many things like that in our, when you talk about honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness, transparency, IPR, intellectual property, right? Intellectual property, confidentiality, responsible publication, and social responsibility. These are some of the topics, some of the things that I'm going to talk about for 30 minutes of my session. And I was asked to take up to 30 minutes. Let me begin with the first thing. Okay. So the moment I say ethics, the moment I say ethics, ethics are kind of a rules and unwritten laws that govern our behavior. In the same way, research ethics, they govern our research writing. And when I say research writing, I also mentioned the research publication. There are many universities in India that have a special paper in their coursework called research ethics, research publication ethics. In our university, that is President's University, we have this. We have this research publication ethics, and we discuss with our research scholars at the beginning of their career. They have to undergo this course, and it's mandatory. See here, one important thing, an action may be legal but unethical. An action may be unethical but legal. But it's a conflict of interest. Basically, a conflict of interest. But as a researcher, a simple way of defining research ethics is to focus on the disciplines that study standards of conduct. For example, like philosophy, theology, law, psychology, social. You can define ethics also as a method, a procedure, or a perspective for deciding how to act. And for any complex, analyzing complex problems and issues. So something like global warming. uh, See, this ethics, is playing a very significant role in the present day life, especially when we are dealing with capitalistic scenarios. So, take for example of global warming, very say, global issue phenomenon, which is troubling even people who are not in any way responsible for that. In fact, the so-called developed countries are the major contributors for this global warming issue. So, therefore, as a scientist, when you are dealing with it, first thing that we should have is honesty, integrity. But my question is, are we so sincere? Are we so objective? Are we so dedicated to the cause of science, to the cause of humanity? So here, what comes into the forefront is research ethics. There are many reasons why we should adhere to ethical practices or ethical norms in the research. The first one is to, if we have some aims of research, we should promote it. Probably, first of all, I feel that we should be sincere, dedicate to our uh, aims of research. The second one, we need to promote some ethical standards in different disciplines and institutions, values that are essential for collaborative work. Nowadays, research has become a collaborative activity. Therefore, we have to have some sincerity, some honesty, because we have to work together. The next one is we are accountable to the public. Most of our research, is used, and the expenditure that we spend is public. So we owe that moral responsibility. That is what we call, accountability to the public. The next one is, we are taking public support. Because most of our research projects, are funded by public. So we have to have the public support for which, you need to develop some kind of ethical norms. It's a kind of, taking not taking the law into our hands, and we have our own justifications. Finally, last one but not the least, the most important thing is moral and social values, which reminds me of the social responsibility of a research. I remember Bertrand Russell's essay, Social Responsibility, detail what is the role of a scientist in the current scenario. So instead of talking all those things, let me go to the principle, ethical principles. Let me begin with the first principle, ethical principle in research. The first is honesty. One researcher must strive hard for honesty in all scientific communications. Honestly report data, results, methods, and procedures, and publication status. One example would be very nice if I give you, and almost all of us agree, that is, the origin of coronavirus. It is a mystery even today. Many people will say that Russia, China is responsible. In fact, one great president of the US, he declared it is China virus. China virus. So here, it is the responsibility of the researcher, the people who work in the lab, to come out with, to be honest and to give the data. And another thing is, never fabricate any of the details, any of the data. See, this happens mostly in scientific research. I'm not saying that it does not happen in English and social sciences, but still, it takes, and never falsify, never misrepresent data. See, this is what honesty is. And never deceive your colleagues. Because I remember when I was a student, one of the projects, one of my classmates, one of my batchmates, he was very comfortable going out enjoying. And on the day of Viva, he came out with a thesis and he presented to the board of examiners. The examiners asked him only three questions. What is your name? What is your father's name? And when did you do this? Carried out this project. When he answered, very, in a very, very comfortable manner, he was asked, come back with the presentation. After that, the results were announced. He had completely falsified some other study. He had just changed the front page and inside. especially techniques. Uh, the names were not changed in page number 3 and 4. So this kind of honesty is required when you present the data, when you publish an article. And again, somebody was talking about plagiarism. Yes, that's a big nuisance in our field and in our area of study. Now, the other day, I was talking to somebody about uh, there is a structure of a thesis. Somebody questioned me if I have published an article and I take from my article, and use it in my thesis or dissertation. Can it be considered as plagiarism? Yes, it will be considered unless you give a citation, you give a reference. It comes under self-plagiarism, and some universities do not are not serious, but some are serious. You can again give citation there. It may be your own, absolutely nothing wrong as long as it supports or as long as it refutes the argument that you are making. The second one is objectivity. See, the moment I say objectivity, again, it comes in our social sciences research. Yeah, sometimes we need tend to be biased. For example, I am conducting one survey about some practice. It can be religious practice, it can be a social practice. Like for example, if we give an example, recently, Jallikattu was something that was discussed in detail. The Jallikattu. The people opposed it on various grounds. But as a Tamilian, as a person who knows the Kalacharam of Tamil Nadu, I would support it. I would support it because it represents our culture. It represents my land. And in the same way, the Kambala of Karnataka. Since I'm from Bangalore, I'm talking about this Kambala of Karnataka, though, people, Peta people, though all those people may oppose it on various reasons, I personally feel that yes, it is. It is my land. It represents me, my culture. So when it comes to such sensitive matters like that, a researcher should never be biased. He should take it in a very objective manner, and his analysis and its interpretation should be purely object based. Purely, it should be, he should take care, especially when it comes to such sensitive issues. When you are making a study, cultural studies, you need to develop this attitude. So never disclose your personal or financial interest that may affect your research. You should take care. Okay, especially when you're writing and when you're speaking, objectivity becomes utmost important in research writing. Next, integrity. When I say integrity, as a teamwork, when you collaborate with a team, please maintain your promises and agreements. Most of us, I think I don't want to generalize it. Most of us have this habit of meeting deadline, including research supervisors, try to adhere and strive for consistency of thought and action. The next one is carefulness. Carefulness. See, especially this carefulness is very much required when it comes to scientific research. More than anything, scientific research, you have to be careful because the moment you become careless, the data will be misrepresented. The data may become inadequate. That you may falsify data, or you may tend to ignore the factual information, and you may not able to critically examine your own work, your own work are the work of peers. Therefore, keep good record of your research activities, something like data collection, research design, correspondence with agencies and journals. Now, I would like to tell something very interesting. Very recently, this happened in one of the universities that I know. You know, what we do, when it comes to all these things, ethics, we tend to send our articles to too many journals. And unfortunately, some two, three journals will select our articles. And definitely, I'll tell you, if you do not withdraw your article from too many journals, you will be blacklisted. And remember, we may say that okay, let one journal blacklist me, two journal blacklist me, three journal blacklist me. I have hundreds of journals for publication. This is a misnomer. You are wrong at this point. See, now the moment one journal blacklists, they have their own syndicate. It will be circulated. And your article, whatever the quality of article may be, you will tend to be ignored. There are many apps now, many software. They'll filter your article very easy, and they may block your email also. The moment your name, there are tools that search your names. So avoid all those things because that will affect you in the long way. See, any shortcut will never lead you to grand success. The next one is openness. When I say openness, most of us are really scared about this, including my scholars and me as a scholar. We do not want to share any of our results, data, ideas, tools, resources. We are not. See, this is very unethical and unprofessional for a research. Be open. So sometimes, we have an apprehension that people may criticize. It was thing. We're always scared about what the others say, what he may think, what may be his opinion. So let us be open to criticism because only when you discuss, only when you discuss, only when you share your data, only when you do all these things, automatically you may get new ideas. At least share with some of your good friends, good colleagues who are again, who have some integrity and honesty, so that you can definitely improve. You can definitely rewrite. It is better to have peer opinion about your research. The next one is transparency. In most of our research, especially scientific and medical research, the people will hide things. We do not disclose methods, materials, assumption, analysis, and other information needed to evaluate your research. See, this is again, another unethical practice that we have to disclose. We have to give at least at the final stage of our research article, final stage of our presentation, thesis, it is required and it is necessary. It is necessary that we should give all the information relevant and required for understanding the article and for publication, at least at the time of publication. Finally, I'll come to accountability. This is something that I already spoken, mentioned about. See, we most of our research depends on public grant. It can be from a university or from any other organization. We are accountable. When I say we are accountable, I am talking also about the social responsibility of a researcher. Here, the researcher definitely has to look into that social responsibility and he should accept it. He should not only accept it, he has to justify. When I say justify, in two ways: in the expenditure, in whatever that you spend, whatever you that spend, you are accountable. Not only that, whatever your research findings are, again you are responsible. It's most moral and ethical, moral and ethical responsibility, and this accountability has been missing these days in most of our research institutions, and this is really alarming. With our system, with our system, with our policies, nobody feels accountable, and we take things for granted, and we develop an attitude, chalta hai, chalta hai. So this kind of attitude kills the spirit of true research, and I feel that accountability is one more important thing that we must respect. And the next point in research ethics is intellectual property. And remember, we have copyright. This intellectual property, now you may tend to end up losing your credibility. First thing. Second thing, you may be sued. In Western countries, this suing, the people will teach you a lesson. People will teach you a lesson, because this, even in India, it has begun. Let us be careful. Let us give the due credit to the author. The, the due credit, because let us use citation. Let us learn referencing and give every citation, every writer, every article its due respect, which is very much required. And remember, you are not supposed to use some of the data without permission. At least when you use, acknowledge it properly. Give credit to the contribution to research, and and now I will come to the main point. Never plagiarize. Sometimes, I have seen our scholars, they will paraphrase, and they'll say, I have not taken anything directly. I have not taken, I'm not citing anything, but I'm paraphrasing. Even when you paraphrase, please give due credit. It's absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. There are many tools that paraphrase. Even then, you have to, please. It's ethical. It's our moral responsibility to cite the reference. Then confidentiality, yeah, it is required when it comes to medical research, particularly medical research, because you have to keep some data, some information highly confidential, especially when it comes to our social science research. Some research papers, grants, personal records, or something like military secrets, something like patent records. Now, all these things are highly confidential. As a researcher, you should maintain this confidentiality. Not only that, you should be you should obey by the rules and regulations of the institution that provides you something very significantly, that allows you to conduct research and publish. Then, last but not the least, respect for colleagues. See, we get lot of support from different people in our research activity. We should acknowledge that, respect them, treat them fairly. Remember, courtesy is at that most required in any professional life. And the next thing is social responsibility. I've already spoken about this. See, as a human being, as an individual, as a researcher, it is our utmost priority to have some responsibility in society. When something is going against society, as a researcher, we should stop it. We should try to stop it. But most of us, we will try to escape from there. We try to stop, we may, but when we cannot, we will shrink, will run away from that. Let us not let us not adhere to that. Okay, I think with this, I I have almost taken my time. I think I'll stop here because I do not want to cross over my time limit. And uh, with this, I'll conclude. My only submission to all the researchers is, let us adhere to certain principles, human values, social responsibilities in our research activity. And with this, I'll conclude my session. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share some of my views on research ethics. Thank you. Thank you, Cape Comorin Trust and Lavender Literary Club. Thank you, Frank Joyson, once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Good evening, sir. May I? Hello.
Please, ma'am. Please. Yeah.
Sir, thank you so much for the talk, sir. It was really very fruitful and informative. Sir, you spoke about openness and transparency, sir. So I'm not able to distinguish between both, sir. If you're being open, then definitely you'll be transparent, right, sir? So what is the difference between being open and being transparent in research?
Oh, yes, that's a very interesting observation. I appreciate your openness here. But
Thank you, sir.
when I say openness, ma'am, it is accepting criticism.
Okay.
See, somewhere something we may go wrong, We, as one observation goes, usually we will take it for granted. Whatever that we have done is the right, the best.
Yes,
And
sir.
when you give it to your peers, they may come out with some suggestions, some corrections. This is what I mean by openness.
Okay, sir.
Accepting criticism, accepting that something may go wrong, that human error, is it happens. It happens. That is openness.
Okay,
That
sir.
is openness. Okay. I think I'm clear about openness now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
told you, you are very open. You are very open and I accept it. And I
Okay, sir.
appreciate your openness. But
Yes.
transparency is, see, it's a kind of cheating others. Especially, as I told you, research has become a collaborative activity these days. We may take some data from our colleagues, from our other friends, or even from unknown resource persons. But the person may not know about R, and we will not acknowledge it. We will not even bother to inform him. A few things, we take things for granted. And that kind of, attitude is not transparency. So we should maintain transparency in our collection of data, in the presentation of data, presentation of information, facts. That is transparency. I think I have cleared your question.
Yes, sir. So then, like I got this openness as well as transparency. So, transparency, will it include like not hiding anything? Okay.
It almost comes to that only, ma'am.
Same.
You are
Yes.
right.
Yes, sir.
You are right. You are right.
Okay. Sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Welcome.
So,
Any
may
other
I, sir?
questions?
Please, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Actually, you spoke about survey. I have
Ah,
completed my
ah,
pilot study as of now. And what will be
ah.
the duration between pre-test and post-test, sir? Should it
Ma'am,
be
that,
shorter or shall we take 1 year and so on, sir?
ma'am, for that, you should discuss with your supervisor first. And
Actually, I had a doubt that few of them has done within a month, and some people suggested me for 1 year we shall have for 1 year can be the time duration between pre-test and post-test. I had
ma'am,
this doubt, therefore I raised here.
ma'am, first thing, I do not have any context of your research. First thing. Second thing, I do not know what is the scope of your study and what is the nature of
Okay,
your study. Okay, I request, if I can definitely answer your question in a better way, you please collect my contact number from the organizers. Definitely, I'll
okay,
talk
sir.
to you, ma'am. Only thing is,
Okay, sir.
in this kind of research, I can easily say 6 months to be on the safer side,
Okay, sir.
but I will not
Okay,
say
sir.
that. I'll not say that. Depends on your purpose of study, aims of objects, research questions, all these things, they come into picture in order to answer this. And if you come to me with these details, definitely I'll be able to help. And I'm
Okay,
willing
sir.
to help. I'm willing to help.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome. Welcome.
Sir, may I have talk to you now? Is it possible to raise my questions to you, sir?
Please.
Sir, your presentation today was wonderful. It is eye-opening for all those researchers who do their research on various disciplines. And my question is that as you spoke about the plagiarism, social accountability and accountability, and I do have a lot of books. I read a lot of books on my author with whom I'm study about. But my question is that, and how many percentage of his writings that I must incorporate in my thesis, or what is the percentage that I should put in? Because it is not possible to write, I feel that it is not possible to write entire thesis on my own. So I have to take I have to take few quotes or sayings or their ideas, and I have to incorporate it. But people talk about plagiarism, but without taking their ideas and incorporating in our writing, is it possible to do a thesis? Write a thesis?
Sir, to be very honest here, it is impossible right now. I'm talking about the present context.
Yeah.
And since you raised about the percentage of the, I would like to put it in this way, primary sources and secondary sources. Am I right,
Yes.
sir? The moment you said author, you're talking
Yeah.
about the primary sources.
Correct.
Sir, our primary sources will come to around 40%.
Okay.
40%. No, this is only rough estimate. It may
Yeah,
differ from person to person, from writer to writer. And
correct.
20% you can depend on secondary sources. Okay. So 40% primary sources, 20% secondary resources, and sir, 40% is your contribution. How did you answer your research question? What is your interpretation? What is your analysis? How did you arrive at some of your arguments? And for supporting that argument, you use secondary sources and primary sources. Sir, I'm making very crude generalization, 40, 20, 40. But
Okay.
sometimes, it varies. It varies. Sometimes it may be given even 30, 30, 40. 30, 20, 50. It depends on your topic, area of interest, and again, the research supervisor and the university norms. Roughly speaking, sir, this is minimum that I expect from a research dissertation or thesis. 40% from primary sources, 20% because you need that to support your argument, your opinion, your viewpoint, your research question. Again, 40% should be your own. Otherwise, how can you call it your own? And plagiarism, sir, don't worry. You use citations, sir, for everything. You can make you can make it 0% plagiarism. But still, many universities allow you 10 to 12% of plagiarism. Sir, I'll tell you something very funny I would like to share with you. When I started research in 2007, one of my professors said, if you copy from one book, it is plagiarism. If you copy from too many books, it is research. Though I don't agree with him, but I remember his words even now. After 15 years, I remember. Okay. It is tolerated, sir. I think I have answered your question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. It is very clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your fruitful and informative talk.
Thank you.
And now-
Thank you, Gino. Thank you very much.